Namaste, welcome to the guidance classes telecasted by tsat. So, we telecasted various concepts of all the 13 concepts which are given in the preliminary syllabi. So, now we are going to discuss about as a overall review on the Indian geography, Telangana geography, environmental issues and disaster management by the expert Jagannath sir. Welcome sir for this session.
Thank you. Good evening everybody. Welcome to tsat. I am thankful to tsat for giving me the opportunity to discuss about the issues in geography, environment and disaster management.
Yeah, sir. So, today our main aim and objective of this session is to give the total clarification about all these three areas.
Yes, sir.
Just now I said the Indian geography, Telangana geography, environmental issues yes, and disaster management. Yeah. So, how to understand the scope of this subject?
So, as far as group 1 is considered, as far as geography and environment and disaster management are considered, first of all we need to understand the scope of the subject, little bit something beyond the way we know what geography is. So, the reason behind it is geography contains certain branches like physical geography and human geography.
Okay.
These are the main two branches of geography, where in this case of geography, as we know that predominantly we think in terms that geography mainly contains physical geography, but in general and geography for group 1 in general, you need to concentrate more even on human geography. So, in this context you need to be clear what human geography is. So, human geography contains other branches like economic geography or industrial geography, agricultural geography, population geography. So, you need industrial geography, you need to have an overall understanding of the functioning where the resources and environment are impacting the economy. In this perception also you need to understand geography.
Okay. So, here in this group 1 services examination there are two stages, as everyone knows it, that is the prelims and mains,
yes,
correct?
Yes.
So, the prelims is an objective type. So,
yes,
based on multiple choice questions they will
yes,
screen the aspirants,
yes, yes,
and whereas mains is a descriptive type.
yes.
So, both examination pattern are different. So, how to prepare for this prelims and also mains?
So, in this context what we need to do is the content for, there is no, one thing we need to be very clear is there is no separate preparation for prelims and mains.
Okay.
We need to view what is being given in the prelims and what is being given in the mains examination is considered. So, in this case we need to comprehensively study both the areas of prelims and mains.
Okay.
Unless until you do not study in the comprehensive manner, because the scope of understanding of the subject or framing the question is being considered, he will not confine only to a prelims area or mains area. To understand the question itself, we need to have a clear cut understanding of the overall syllabus of prelims and mains.
Okay. So, here we have we can classify the total geography as a world geography,
yes,
Indian geography and Telangana geography. Of course, you said another things also, but
yes,
initially we can divide into world geography, yes, Indian geography and Telangana geography.
Yes,
no?
yes.
So, in which area among these three we have to focus more?
In the case of prelims, he has specified that he is going to ask questions on world geography,
okay,
Indian geography and Telangana geography. But in the case of mains, there is no such kind of rising regarding world geography is considered.
Okay.
So, in this context you must, because we can't separately prepare for world geography or separately prepare for prelims for Indian geography, overall you need to prepare together for prelims and mains. That is
okay,
the main.
So, how to divide the components of subject to prepare for the mains examination?
So, this is how the components of the subjects are being divided into. So, we have got different chapters here. For example, in this process of preparation for, in the case of mains, for example, in the chapter 1, you need to divide the components of the syllabus into these areas so that you will be able to understand what has been given. The reason behind it is, for example, when you take chapter 1, all these aspects of physical geography, economic geography, everything has been mixed together.
Okay.
So, to understand what is being given, because geography has got these many number of chapters and branches, we need to consolidate to understand the content being given in these headlines being given. For example, Indian physiography in the case of mains, Indian climate, energy, minerals, and exclusive economic zones, interstate water sharing. These are the different kinds of areas into which we need to divide first. When we don't divide the syllabus into these constraints being given, we will lack in clarity and we will not be able to understand the scope of the subject, or we will not be able to estimate the kind of questions the examiner may give you. So, when you have got these division of the scope into these constraint areas, estimating and expecting the type of questions you can experience in the examinations can be estimated. Okay. Unless until you don't divide this, you will not be able to understand the subject properly.
Okay. So, generally each subject has its own significance, correct? Yes. Because you can't prepare all the subjects in the same manner. Yeah. For if you want to prepare one particular subject, a particular strategy is required. Yeah. Like, is there any special strategy to prepare for the geography?
Yes. In this case of special strategies, one thing we need to be clear with the scope what it is. So, as per the constraints being divided as being projected to you, this is in the case of chapter 1.
Okay.
So, in this case you need to prepare certain synopsis for each area. In this context, while you are presenting, don't completely focus on the physical areas. Apart from the physical areas, you need to concentrate on economic geography and, for example, agriculture, industry, transportation, and population geography. In this process, you need to collect certain data which is current relative.
Okay.
You need to fortify, you need to support your statements with the help of the current data provided. To observe the changes happening, you must be able to compare the existing current data with the previous decade in terms of population, or a previous couple of years in terms of industrial production or performance of agriculture. In these areas, collecting data, fortifying the data essential for the explanation you are giving with a proof plays a very major role for you.
Okay. What is the significance of Indian physiography and climate?
So, a overall understanding is required. Okay. Because Indian climate cannot be understood in isolation of physiography, because okay. India predominantly, which has got a very unique climatic condition, which has got a monsoon type of climate,
okay.
is not only because of the latitudinal factor, it is also because of the physiographic factors like the Western Ghats, the Himalayas play a very major role in determining the climate of our region. So, to understand climatology, you need to be clear with physiography of the region. So, interlinking with one another. So, these physiographic factors and climatological factors impact the agriculture. So, how agriculture, climate and physiography are being interlinked. So, what is the reason for the performance of agriculture in this financial year in this manner? Because it is being influenced by climatic factors of that particular region, or the performance of the monsoon, whether it is positive or negative to the expected average precipitation. So, interlinking of all these areas, availability of natural resources, existence of different kinds of industries in different regions, which is being influenced by the availability of the natural resources. Every chapter need to be interlinked with one another. In the absence of interlinking, when you are studying chapters in isolation, you will not be able to understand questions.
Okay. So that is good. So, what is the significance of energy in India?
Energy is considered as being given specifically in this chapter, the importance of energy. In this era, energy is one of the basic and essential input for the development of an economy or a country. For example, traditionally land, labor, capital are the basic essential requirements for the development of any kind of economy or production. Apart from this, in this modern era, communications, transportation and energy are playing a very important role, and that too we are agreeing upon the international conventions agreeing upon sustainable development. So, in this process you need to generate energy in terms of sustainable development. When you are depending more on fossil fuels, which is not sustainable, means which we are not following upon the international conventions on which we have agreed upon. For example, the Glasgow Agreement happened recently, or the Paris Agreement, or whatever it is. So, development with generation of energy, with sustainable development, meeting the norms of international conventions of climate change. In this context, energy is important for development. At the same time, it is very important in terms of generating sustainably. In this context, in this era, generation of energy or power is very much important in this context.
Okay, that's good. So, what is here we have agriculture and irrigation, correct?
Yeah.
So, both are related. So,
Yeah.
what is the significance of agriculture and irrigation in India?
So, it is very significant not only in India. The reason behind it is we have got a lot of problems being faced here. So, why these kind of areas like agriculture, irrigation are being made part of your curriculum? Because as a future administrator, you are going to, why you are being selected, what is the reason for why the TSPSC board must select you, what for you are being selected? The main reason is you are being selected to solve the problems. So, for example, one of the major problem is to meet the demand of food which is required for the exploding population. In this context, irrigation and agriculture, without irrigation there is no agriculture. You need to utilize the water in an exact judicious manner so that you can maximize the agricultural production. So, in this context it is so significant because one of the most populated country in the world, to meet the requirement of food demand, irrigation and agriculture plays a very important role in a country like India. In this context, the disparities need to be eliminated, how to plan it, how irrigation plays a major role. In this context it is very important, especially in terms of Telangana. You need to focus on the kind of irrigation projects being planned by the government and how they are responsible for increasing in the cultivation of different kinds of crops and expanding the area of agriculture, increasing the crop acreage per annum. This is more important in terms of the governmental plan programs.
Okay, so due to geographical differences, so irrigation projects, nature of irrigation projects also differ.
Yeah.
So we can observe in India.
Yeah.
So especially in Telangana, we are giving more importance for the lift irrigation, like 𝗂𝗃𝗄𝗃 project and like so.
Yes.
So what is the reason behind it?
So this is a kind of project which is an extraordinary project. The reason behind it is, when we examine the balance sheet in terms of economics,
okay,
it doesn't work. It may or it may not work, but development is not pure mathematics. So, to reduce the disparities, the investment by the government disproportionately might be essential for the fruits to reach to the lowest economic strata of the farmers. In this context, it is an extraordinary project which is responsible for percolation of production of income generation for the lower sections of the population. These kind of irrigation projects play a very important role in terms of development of the poor also.
Okay. So actually even government also advised to the farmers due to geographical regions or irrigation regions, agriculture regions, whatever it may be, to change the crop.
Yeah.
So what is the reason behind it?
Changing crop crop rotation or crop changing is essential because seasonally the monsoon effect is only for about 3 months in our state, okay, or in terms of our country. So accordingly, the change in the seasonal variations in terms of, as we have got different seasons like the rainy season or the winter season or the summer season, accordingly, because the cultivation can be done proportionate to precipitation. So all the crops do not require the same kind of irrigation. So there are certain intensive irrigation crops like paddy, wheat, etc., which need to be cultivated only in an irrigation available season like rainy season. So during a Rabi season, we need to shift to certain kind of agriculture which can be dependent on rain-fed farming. The 𝗳 in the case of in the case of summer cultivation. Accordingly, because with seasons there is variation of precipitation, accordingly we need to shift to the kind of crops need to be cultivated to save farmer and to avoid drought.
Okay, see, Hyderabad is totally different, even culture wise and other aspects also, it's a different.
Yeah.
So how to analyze the geography of Hyderabad?
Geographical perception in terms of Hyderabad, we need to view in different dimensions. In the same way, in terms of geography, Hyderabad, physiography, Hyderabad culture, Hyderabad economy, Hyderabad social setup.
Okay.
In these, and especially in terms of industrial region, especially in terms of service sector, especially IT, you need to divide the Hyderabad geography into these different sectors. Unless until you divide the Hyderabad into these different sections, we will not be able to understand. Because in terms of geography, when you study about the physiographic features of a region as part of Deccan Plateau, apart from this, it has got certain significance as a capital. It has got a certain significance in terms of driving the economy of the state. So, what are the factors responsible for Hyderabad supporting the state economy a lot? What are the different factors here in terms of secondary sector and in terms of tertiary sector? So, in this process, we need to isolate geography into different sections where we have got different industrial regions. So, for example, Balanagar industrial region or a Patancheru industrial region, or we have got, in the case of service sector, we have got the financial district or the Madhapur, the IT sector. In these areas, we need to divide the different sections of geography, which is economic geography, and how this is responsible for supporting the development of the state. And in this process, you must be able to understand the geography of Hyderabad in different dimensions and its role, especially in the case of a service sector.
Okay, so just now we discussed about Indian geography, world geography, so like Telangana geography. Then how to understand our Telangana geography?
So, there is a drastic difference when you relatively compare with our capital Hyderabad and with the rural Telangana here. In this process, the dependence of people varies in terms of their sector.
Okay.
So, the people who are dependent in Hyderabad, they are more dependent upon the manufacturing sector, especially the service sector, even the service sector, the quinary sector, which is being classified as the government sector. So, the production and dependence is more in terms of the capital Hyderabad is completely different. And the people, the combination of people belonging to different culture, we have got the whole India in Hyderabad. So, the composition of population, the type of economy which is running, the geographical setup, the climate, in all these dimensions, industrial regions, how they are being supported, in these different aspects we need to study Hyderabad geography. But when related to compare with the rural Telangana, where the agriculture which is dependent upon the geographical factors like the kind of soil available, the kind of irrigation available, the precipitation available, and the type of crops being cultivated, we need to analyze in these different perceptions. Then only we will be able to understand the holistic geographical factors of Telangana, when you are able to understand the urban phenomena happening and the rural phenomena, which are completely different.
Okay. So, how to understand the pattern of urbanization in Telangana?
In Telangana. So, Hyderabad has got a different factors. It has got historical factors, it has got geographical factors, and the government plan programs which are advantages for investment, ease of business programs. It has got many different multiple aspects combined together for the development of Hyderabad, especially in this context. Historically, it has got a certain significance here in terms of the development, in terms of governments. Apart from this, being a capital of the state, it has got an advantage. Apart from this, because of the geographical location, because of the climatic advantage, there is a migration of people throughout the country establishing here in Hyderabad. Because of the development of infrastructure, there is foreign direct investment here. Because of this, there is not only people migrating from the different parts of the country, people have started migrating from the world to settle in Hyderabad. So, in this context, Hyderabad has got a greater significance in terms of its evolutionary significance in terms of development in different stages on the basis of the factors which I have specified. And this urban area is being supported by the essential rural area in terms of supporting the essential services like agriculture, vegetables, other labor forces, etc. Manual labor. The rural area supports the urban area. Because of this exact couple forces of the urban setup and the rural setup, Hyderabad is able to sustain in an extraordinary manner, and it is one of the best cities in the country which has got a lot of developmental opportunities.
So, when you compare with the various towns or cities in the Telangana, so Hyderabad stood first, and it is a center of attraction also. So, it has a financial significance also, because nearly it contributes on the total economy more than 40%, correct. So, is there any geographical significance for the development of Hyderabad when you compare with the other parts of the Telangana?
So, geographical significance in terms of its location, altitude, the climatic conditions, and construction of infrastructure. Because of the kind of stable rock available here, we can construct infrastructure extraordinarily without any kind of hindrances. Because of the kind of metro which is being constructed, because of the stability of the terrain, where it does not require a huge foundational infrastructure essential when you relatively compare with the national capital territory or Bangalore, etc. When we relatively compare, that is the other geographical advantage we have got. And apart from this, because of the kind of soil we have got in Telangana, which is responsible for better agricultural conditions when they are being irrigated well. So, with the development of modern irrigative techniques of drip irrigation and sprinkler irrigation, mulching techniques and different techniques, there is a surrounding fertile soil. With the development of irrigation and with the climatic condition, we are able to develop the rural economy with the modern governmental plan programs in terms of irrigation, which has led to the supporting the main city for the essential services required, led to the sprawling of the city, led to primacy. Primacy here implies that it has developed to an extent where you cannot compare any other urban center compatible to Hyderabad. That is very significant, which has been described as primacy, where we have got urban cities like Warangal, etc., but not comparable with Hyderabad because of these geographical advantages.
So, generally we are using the word environmentalism, sustainable development. So, what is environmentalism and what is sustainable development?
So, in this modern, not modern, we have to develop in terms of sustainable manner. So, environmentalism is a process of exploitation of resources or protecting the environment in such a manner where we must protect our environment in the process of development. We must not exploit resources beyond breaking the resilient capability of an ecosystem. So, in this process, we need to maintain biodiversity, we need to maintain the essential composition of the air, and we must not increase the rate of pollution in terms of particulate matter in the air or poisonous gases like carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide present in the air, or the constituents in the water being drained because of the effluents being released from the industries, or polluting the soil through very dangerous pesticides. In these different manners, in all the different dimensions, environmentalism stops this kind of pollution in hydrosphere or lithosphere or atmosphere to minimize the destruction through pollution, limiting your exploitation within the limit of resilient capability, so that protecting the biodiversity implies environmentalism.
So, through our tsat we provide excellent comprehensive information in geography. So, maybe this is sufficient for the preparation of examination, but if you want to prepare more comfortable for our aspirants, are you going to suggest any books for preparation for this geography?
In the case of books, you have got NCERT books and state state syllabus books are the major fundamental books. Apart from this, adding the current affairs is much more important. You may underestimate these books what I have specified, but when you are able to do with this, they will serve a lot. But apart from this, what you have to do is you need to go through the newspapers as part of current affairs, because the textbooks may lack the current issues or current data. Newspapers serve the purpose. Going through the newspapers is a must, because you whatever you have just reproduced from the textbook will not be sufficient enough to the question being given. The base subject in the textbook available need to be supported with the current data of agriculture or industry or population essential, need to be supported to that. And one basic idea you need to have is you must be alert to understand what is going in your surroundings in every respect, in political, in social, in economic, in every geographical aspect, climate changes, in every respect, changing in the social flora of the composition of the people. In every respect, you must keep an eye agile. The more conscious you are when you are able to observe the changes happening in the surroundings, the probability for you to success increases.
Okay. So, how to exploit natural resources?
So, development does not happen without exploitation of natural resources. So, it is inevitable for you. So, you have to exploit natural resources. So, in this process, the main reason for the destruction of the environment and the major hazards happening which are created by man, because indiscriminate exploitation of resources. For example, whatever resource you are using, you name it, the clothes you are wearing or the house you have been constructed, the footwear you are using or what not is from the exploitation of resource. The house, the cement or the brick or the iron or the clothes, you need to clear the natural vegetation and you need to cultivate for cotton or anything else. In this process, if you are continuously exploiting the resources, what happens is the ecosystems collapse, because the oxygen you are breathing right now is generated from the plant. When you are destructing the ecosystem, there is no question of breathing oxygen. You know the importance of oxygen. So, to know this, you need to, with the help of environmental areas like environmental impact assessment, will estimate the extent of variation of these components in the air, like percentage of oxygen or the toxics, etc. So that you need to take certain essential measures to know whether you are crossing the resilient capability of an ecosystem or not. So that these studies will stop you at a limit where you must limit the exploitation of resources, so that geography saves you from disasters.
Okay. In this era, climate change is most significant.
Yeah.
What is the reason behind it?
Climate change is more significant because of the phenomena of global warming happening. The reason for global warming is improper exploitation of resources. For example, you are generating energy. Take the case of India, the percentage of energy being generated with fossil fuels, approximately more than 75%, which is not sustainable. So, in this process leading to global warming, leading to acid rain leading to the death of different species, leading to loss of biodiversity. So, in this process it is killing the microorganisms. It is the acid withers away the leaves of the plants very easily by dissolving the waxy coat on the leaves. The leaves soak and decay very easily. The production of plants decreases. The essential microorganisms in the soil die. So, the microorganisms are essential because they fix the nutrients in the soil, helps in degrading the organic matter. Dead plants and animals make the soil rich so that the plants can grow effectively. Because of these global warming and acid rain, the soil microbial biota die, vegetation decreases, weathering and erosion increases, and soil nutrition decreases, and soil becomes sterile to produce, and it leads to the death of plants, and ultimately oxygen or food, everything is being lost. It leads to the collapse of the complete ecosystems.
Okay. So, everyone knows it to prepare for the like group 1 examination. So, preparation of analyzing of the previous papers is a very important.
Yeah.
So, if they want to start the preparation, so first they have to analyze the total paper, and which area they have to concentrate, and they have to check their strength and weaknesses also, correct? This is a common strategy adopted by the aspirants. So according to you, as a subject expert in geography, so here how many questions you expecting from the geography in the prelims examination?
In the prelim, because after changing the syllabus, this might be the first examination. So what I expect is every area will be given an equitable judicious share in prelims. In this process, what I emphasize is when you are appearing for a group 1 examination, this is an examination which I am expecting definitely that this will be at the level of civil service examination, both prelims and mains. Be prepared for that. For this, for you not to get shock when you have appeared for the examination, first better go for the prelims papers of the previous civil service examination first, so that because we are expecting at that level, definitely you don't feel shock when you go to the examination. Analyze the previous question papers, even in the prelims and mains. So in this context, your preparation must be in such a manner where you must give preference more to practice session. 50% of the time you must give for practice session for prelims and mains. So there is this is a very important aspect which I am telling you. Most of you think that you will start practicing after completing your preparation. I like to tell you one thing, your preparation will never complete. Then when are you going to start practice? So you must view your practice session examination as a method of learning, not as an examination. I am telling this once again, the practice session must be considered as a method of learning, not as an examination. You may make 100% blunders in the practice session, it does not matter. You need to check the key, why you are right, why you are wrong, analyze the things. You will be having two aspects here, memory aspects and logical aspects. Memory aspects is you need to revise a number of times, that is one aspect. The second aspect is logic aspect involved in the subject. In this context of logic, whether you need to discuss with your friends or you need to discuss with your teacher to clear the logic involved in the concept. When you are question by question, when you are clearing these doubts and logics, the depth in the subject automatically increases, and you will get exactly into the orientation of the examination. Otherwise, if like academics, if you are going on through reading hours together, it will not help you. That is one of the basic essential thing which you need to do. And daily you need to spend sufficient amount of time for prelims and sufficient amount of time for mains. Practicing prelims questions, a minimum of 30-40 questions per day, because in this process of clearing you will be automatically learning all the subjects. Don't confine to any single subjects in prelims preparation. Collect all the subjects, analyze everything, because you need to face the examination in prelims all the subjects at a time. This will be a practice session accordingly for prelims, because one thing you need to remember is the content for prelims and mains is one and the same, but the approach varies. So to get into the approach, practice 30-40 previous question papers. To get into the approach of mains, practice mains mode of questions. Get into your mentor or a teacher, get it scrutinized. Scrutinizing mains paper is a must. Without that, it is equivalent to going to a warfare without a weapon. So have a mentor, scrutinize it, identify your faults, because your defects will be unique, which cannot be identified unless until you present your scripts to your mentor or a teacher. So that these two kinds of preparation parallelly, prelims orientation and mains orientation, is essential. This must be the approach of preparation. Don't consider this as an examination, consider this as a method of acquiring knowledge, because you need to learn the content in different dimensions. Attending the classes is a dimension, which is when you are going through a single dimension, it will be a narrow method of learning the content. To know the multiple dimensions, observe to the doubt of your classmate, the way of teacher he is teaching you, practice prelims, practice mains, get it scrutinized, analyze the contents with your friends, teachers, etc. When you follow all these approaches, then the examination becomes easy. Just reading will not save your time, just it will kill your time.
Yeah, you said a very good message to all the aspirants.
Yeah.
So don't feel it is like a examination preparation,
Yeah.
but you have to feel that it's
It is a method of
learning. So that's a very important quote to all the aspirants. That's correct.
Yeah.
So
You-
because
So
examination,
in general, there will be an hesitation to the people
Yeah.
that their score will be low. Let it be. It doesn't happen. What happens in your practice if it is low? You need to matter when it is low in the examination.
Yes.
Here, you will know the reasons why you are making wrong.
yeah, so self diagnosis. So you
Self-dia-
have to check so where you are doing the mistakes, and
Yeah.
just of course the rectification of those mistakes and learning those concepts, that will help to,
Yeah.
because so it's not an academic examination.
Yeah.
So these fixed questions will come in the examination.
Yeah.
I have to rewrite the information. It's not like
Yeah.
the way of asking question is different, and construction of the question is different.
Yeah.
So testing measures is different. So obviously method of learning is very good
Very
than for a preparation of examination.
Yeah. You can spend even more time. I said just 50%. You can spend even 70–80% time on analyzing things, which you really get into the exam orientation, which plays a very important role here.
Okay, so what are the important components of subject disaster management?
So in this case of this modern era, this disaster management has got such a kind of significance because we are facing multifarious, multidimensional disasters these days. Some are environmental, some are man-made, the natural, etc. So that is the reason why it is impacting you, destabilizing your economy because of, for example, because of terrorism, because of warfare, because of the tensions being developed with China or Pakistan or any other country possible. These are man-made disasters. The natural disasters like the earthquake, drought, cyclones, floods, these are different kinds of disasters which we are facing a lot. So suddenly there is even a change in terms of the way the precipitation is happening. A downpouring because of cloud burst, all of a sudden inundating people, destroying structures, habitats in seconds. So there is a change in the pattern of disasters happening when you relatively compare with the previous kind of disasters in the pre-independence and just post-independence duration. So after 2000 and 2001-2, the nature of disasters have completely changed, because in terms of terrorist attacks or for example recently the disaster might be man-made or natural, we don't know. The corona, the pandemic impact is a disaster. So because of this multifarious nature, it became necessary for the Government of India to establish a kind of institutional structure to control all these disasters. So in this context, we have established an institution known as NDMA under the control of the Prime Minister, and every respective authoritative bodies are being given authoritative levels in this hierarchy to control different types of disasters, so that they can control every department possible. So to provide security, to provide food security, to provide security in terms of immunizing you, in terms of protecting you from different diseases like this pandemic, like corona, floods, inundation, drought. So there is a multifarious disasters being experienced. So because the disasters are multi-pronged these days, accordingly your structure must evolve and develop in a multidimensional manner to protect ourselves from this multidimensional attack of these disasters.
Okay, so present days there is a need rises a special attention on disaster management. So what is the reason behind it?
The reason behind it is when you are taking certain actions after the occurrence of the disaster, the damage in terms of life and property is very high.
Okay.
So to avoid this loss, when you are prepared in advance, the modern kind of disaster management is being described as a proactive regime, which is being made after the Disaster Management Act 2005. Why it has got such a kind of significance is there is a drastic reduction in the loss of life and property when you are prepared in advance.
Okay.
So that is the reason why disaster management is being made part of your preparation, because in future you are going to be part of disaster management at the state level and at the central level. The reason behind it is you need to know what is a disaster, how you need to tackle, how the resources must be used to solve the problems. One. Second, when there is a different departments people need to coordinate where they are not related in general, there will be a problem of authority whom to command whom.
Okay.
But according to Disaster Management Act 2005, a kind of delegating authority hierarchy has been established. Accordingly, you are being trained in after being selected in different departments accordingly, so that because this is a coordination in terms of disaster management is part of your training, automatically what happens is there will be no contradiction between different departments while serving the people to solve the problems, because we have not got a separate personnel essential to the level as far as disaster management is considered. We have got a few people being recruited and trained for disaster management here. In this context, the recruited NDRF forces or the troops being essential, being trained, will not be sufficient enough to tackle the problem. So, in this context, the existing personnel at the central level and the state level to the NDRF forces, there must be a coordinating line where the training brings in coordination between all these levels to tackle any kind of disaster possible, whether it is natural or man-made, because you are being trained in advance who to command, who to receive the command. So, that is the reason why this is very significant.
Okay. So already we discussed most of the things here. Definitely it will help our aspirants to learn all these things. So, before going to conclude all these things, what are the important components of the subject environmental issues?
So, in the case of this environment, for example, so this is what been given in the syllabus for environment aspects. This is how they are being given. Environmentalism, as we have discussed, ecosystem and natural resources, sustainable development, environmental pollution and climate change. So, in this context, the questions will be asked, because this is the area which has been specified, and here this environment which has been asked in economic development in the section 3.
Okay.
So, you need to understand this in two dimensions. You need to understand in terms of economy, and you need to understand in terms of environment. Development cannot happen without exploitation.
Okay.
So, if the indiscriminate exploitation happens, ecosystem collapse and it leads to the destruction of the whole environment.
Okay.
So, for the development of economy, there is a proper method of exploitation of resources. So, this environment specifies how to exploit the resource to meet the development.
Okay. So, any specific suggestions from your side as a subject expert to score the maximum marks from these three areas, the geography, environmental issues and disaster management for our aspirants?
So, first is understanding the question is more important in the examination.
Okay.
So, in this context, to understand the examination, the base of the subjects you must be very strong enough in terms of, for example, as I have told you to study the state syllabus books being prescribed to you in geography, in human geography, in environment, in disaster management. You need to study in a holistic manner very strongly. When you are able to know the clear meanings of every subject and every vocabulary, every word, you will be able to understand the question. Without knowing the meanings, understanding the question becomes very problem. To know the meaning, the base subject is more important. So, studying this is very much important here.
Okay. Any examination strategy are going to suggest for our new aspirants, because this examination, so already number of times who are writing for this examination, because there is some age relaxation is there. So, it is not only one time like UPSC only 4 times is there is no limit for that.
Yeah.
So, how many times the examination notification is announced, the eligible candidates can apply for it. So, for who has the experienced people, that is okay. For the newcomers who are freshly are now applying for this examination, any suggestions from your side to prepare for that exam?
For freshers, you need to work hard definitely, because in this context, as you have specified that seniors will have an advantage, because they might be able to know the kind of mistakes they have made already, so that they may not repeat them again. So to overcome the advantage the seniors have got, the freshers, the only availability for you is go aggregating, you collecting the previous prelims papers, collecting the previous mains papers, analyzing them, practicing them, and you need to have a test series. You must be able to write the answers for mains and submit to your concerned lecturer or a teacher, get it scrutinized. That is the only way. Attending the classes and reading through the books will help only to you for about 50%. Rest of the 50% depends upon the time you spend, more than 50% in terms of practicing prelims and mains.
Okay. Any suggest a specific action plan for our aspirants, because within 40 days our aspirants is going to write the prelims examination. Any specific action plan from your side?
Action plan in the sense you need to have time bound schedule.
Okay.
You need to have time bound schedule, whether you need to meet the time limit and you need to complete the targeted chapters within the time limit being given. The last days must only used, the last week must be only used for the purpose of revision, and at the end don't make any kind of night outs. You must have a sleep of minimum of 8 hours per day at the last week. When you are not sleeping in the last week, your brain will not work in the examination.
Okay. So if you have a very good action plan and a proper significant roadmap for the success, definitely all the aspirants will get success. So I hope we hope our aspirants will do best in the examination. So you did well and you explained the geography, environmental issues and disaster management in an excellent manner. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving a valuable suggestions and now overall review also. Once again, thank you from our TSAT.
Thank you.
So thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.